everybody. It's Wednesday, January 9th, and I'm Miss Adams, and obviously I'm not there today. I am doing a principalship assessment day all day long, and I'm practicing to be principal, and they're going to give me all sorts of feedback from the video they take of me practicing all day, so it'll be an interesting day. I have made a video for you from the lesson. I'm hoping that you can hear this. That's why I have this little sign that says make sure you can hear this. I've been gone several days and made videos where subs didn't make sure the sound was on. There was just video and no sound. So hopefully your sub has the sound on and it's good. I have those cone-shaped speakers. If you're just hearing a very faint sound, that means the speakers aren't actually on. The only sound you're hearing is what's coming through the projector on the ceiling. That's not good because that's very, very faint, even on high volume. So make sure the cone speakers are on over by my computer. Okay, so you will need to have your note packet for Learning Target E. This is our first day starting into Learning Target E, classifying triangles. So hopefully everybody has their learning packet. And the other thing, as I go through the video today, I'm going to need to make sure that somebody knows how to pause the video, because I'm going to be doing a little bit of giving you information, and then I'm going to have you pause and practice, and then move on, and so on. So there will be times intermittently where we're needing to pause. So if the substitute doesn't quite know how to pause the YouTube video, or they don't want to, and somebody else wants to help them out with that, that would be great. But we definitely want to make sure we can pause. All right? Okay. So, Learning Target E, we're going to do pages 1 through 5 today. And then if we have time at the end, we're going to do a few problems from the book. The textbooks are on the ledge, on the windowsill essentially. Remember, these books cannot leave the classroom. You can use them in the room, but you can't take them with you, all right? Alright, my bugaboos, let's get started. Okay, so we've kind of talked about this before. We've classified triangles in two different ways. The first way is by the sides. If you have a triangle with all three sides the same, all three congruent sides, that's called equilateral. If you have two sides that are congruent and the third side that's not, that is called isosceles. And the final one, which we're less familiar with, is when you have a triangle where all three sides are different from each other. You can see on this shape here, you have a 10, a 5, and a 7. Those are all three different lengths. None of them are congruent. That kind of triangle is called scalene. Scalene. So, I think these names sound like women's names. Like, hey, have you seen Scalene? No, I saw Celise at the mall. Anyway, fun stuff. That's how you name triangles based on their sides. Alright, now, naming the triangles based on their angles. We have 4 different names. So what we're going to be doing a lot today is we're going to classify a single triangle both by what name we would give it based on its side lengths, and by what name we would give it based on its angles. Okay? So, here are the angle names that you can give a triangle. You can have a right triangle if it has one 90-degree angle. It can be equiangular if it has 3 angles that are the same. Now, by the way, if it's an equilateral triangle, it's also an equiangular triangle, and vice versa. If you have an equiangular triangle, it's also equilateral. So these two are really the same triangle. These two always go together. But the other names and categories could be, you know, different combinations. So you could have a scalene right triangle, or you could have an isosceles right triangle, or you could have an acute isosceles, or you can have an acute scalene, you see? So while equilateral and equiangular always go together, the other ones you can kind of mix and match. Okay, so continuing on with the names, and again, these are things we've all seen before. We've gone over these 4 names for angles before. Let's see, I was on acute. Acute triangles of all 3 angles that are less than 90 degrees. Remember, acute things are small things, so when all 3 angles inside are less than 90, that's an acute triangle. And then finally, an obtuse triangle has exactly 1 angle that's bigger than 90. So remember, the first one and the last one, the right triangle and the obtuse triangle, are defined simply by that one angle. This one has one 90-degree angle, the right triangle, and this one has one angle bigger than 90, the obtuse. Whereas the other two in the middle are defined by kind of all three of their angles together. If all three of them are congruent, it's equiangular, or if all three of them are less than 90, then it's acute. So I've always found that these definitions are sometimes a bit of a head scratcher, because the definitions of the first one and the last one are based on just one angle, and the definitions of the two middle ones are based on the entire set of three angles inside. Okay, so let's just do some practice. You can see I've recopied these definitions at the top of the page for this first page we're working on. Now, oh geez, this is supposed to be here. Oh, poop-a-doo. That's no good. Sorry about that, guys. This was supposed to be inside the triangle over here to mark the right angle. I think what happened is I shifted this page over a little bit, but I didn't shift that little marker. Whoopsie. Sorry. Anyway, that's supposed to be right triangle. Alright. Now, remember, with these types of diagrams, or with all types of diagrams, you can't assume anything. So for example, in diagram number 1, it looks like these two sides could be the same length, but since they're not marked with tick marks, I can't assume that to be true. So what I'm looking at is a triangle with no sides that are marked congruent. To me, that is a scalene. Scalene means no sides are the same. All three are different. Now, by its angles, what kind of triangle do I have? Well, you know what? I think it's easier for your brain to actually go through all 6 of these and choose what the name is for the sides first, and then shift gears and then go through all 6 of these and name it based on the angles. Your brain likes to kind of stay in one zone at a time, so if you stay in the naming it by side zone first and then switch over to the naming it by angles zone, it'll feel more natural and easier to your brain. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so the side name for this one, again, I don't see any markings. It looks like all 3 are different. There's no congruent tick marks here. So this would also be scalene for number 2. This one, again, it doesn't look like there's any marks here. It could be that these two sides are the same, but they're not marked. So this one would also be scalene. On triangle number 4, you have 2 sides marked congruent and the 3rd side not. So that would be isosceles. Again, this one, we don't have any tick marks at all, so this would be scalene. No sides congruent. And then finally, when you have a triangle with all 3 sides congruent, that means it's equilateral. Okay, now we're going to shift gears from thinking about scalene, isosceles, and equilateral triangles to what these triangles would be named if we were giving them the names based on their angles, not their sides. So I have a right triangle. Do we see any right triangles? Yep, this one right here, number 3, that's a right triangle, one right angle. No other right triangles? No, I don't see any other right ones. We have equiangular. Well, as I said before, if it's equilateral, then we also know it's equiangular. So those two always go together. So I will write that my equilateral triangle is also oops, I'm misspelling. Equiangular. E-Q-U-I-A-N-G-U-L-A-R. I don't see any other equilateral, also equiangular triangles here, just that one. Now, acute. Acute means that all 3 angles in the inside are less than 90, and you just kind of have to look, use your eyes on this one. I would bet that this triangle right here, if I measured this angle, that's less than 90. This angle and this angle are also less than 90. So number 4, I'm trusting my eyes to say that that is an acute triangle. Number 5 is really tough. This right here in the corner looks like a 90-degree angle, but since it's not marked 90, I'm going to assume that this is slightly less than 90. So that means that this one's less than 90, that one's definitely less than 90, and so is that one. So I would mark number 5 as an acute triangle as well. Now, number 1 and number 2, to me what jumps out is that I have this angle here that's clearly bigger than 90 degrees. Remember, 90 degrees is a perfect corner. This is much bigger than that. That's called an obtuse angle. Whenever you see an obtuse angle in a triangle, that means you can classify that triangle as an obtuse triangle. And same thing for number 2. I can see this angle right here is much bigger than 90 degrees. That makes it obtuse, so that makes the entire triangle an obtuse triangle. So there are my answers for page 2. Okay, so page 3, you can see here things are going to be a little bit more well defined. I think on page 1 we had to use our eyes a little bit to kind of determine what kind of angles we had, and the sides were a little bit obscure as well. But on page 3, everything is labeled, so you know exactly how long every side is, exactly how long, how big the angles are. So I want you guys to try this one. Take your classifications here and see what you can do with this. I don't know if you want to, I don't know if we can get this packet on the overhead. You'd have to switch over the input button, but I think you have to switch it from green to blue. But that'll get you, and if you turn the document camera on, you could be able to put this up there. I don't know if that would be helpful or not. If you can't manage it, that's fine. You can always just flip back in your packet to look at this page. Okay, so I want you to pause the video. And when we come back, we'll go over the answers together for page 3. Do page 3. Go. Okay, so what do we have here? Number 1, all 3 of these angles are the same and all 3 of these sides are the same. That's the triangle that's not only equilateral, but also equiangular. Those two characteristics always go together. If a triangle is equilateral, then it's also equiangular. If it's equiangular, it's also equilateral. Remember, these triangles always have the 60, 60, 60 in there. Okay, we talked about that in the last test. All right, number 8 over here. Looks like all 3 angles on the inside are less than 90 degrees. We've got a 57, a 44, and a 79 degrees. So that is called an acute triangle. And then if all 3 sides are different lengths, 6.1, 7.4, and 8.7, that would be a scalene triangle. Now hopefully you named all these with both the angle names and the side names, because that's the way it'll be on the test, folks. This one, it says 90 degrees right here. It hasn't been marked with a corner marking, but it has been marked with an actual 90 degree numeration. So that's obviously a right triangle. And again, I've got all 3 sides that are different lengths, so that would be a scalene. This one has one big angle down here, 128 degrees, so its angle name would be obtuse. Oops, if I can spell obtuse, there we go. And then, let's see the sides. Ooh, I've got 2 sides that are the same, 2.5 and 2.5. Did you guys see that? It hasn't been marked with tick marks, although you could mark it. It's simply marked with 2.5 and 2.5. So you see that the 2 sides are the same, and the third side is different. So that would be isosceles. Number 11, again, I've got two sides the same, so that would be isosceles. And three angles that are all smaller than 90 degrees, so that would be acute. And then finally, number 12, I see that 90-degree marking there, so this is a right triangle. And then I also see two sides that are the same length. I see 4.8 and 4.8, so that would make this an isosceles triangle. Okay, so those are the answers to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Hopefully you got at least most of them right. Alright, now this page is very similar to the first one. The side markings, you can see we've got, an isosceles triangle here, for example. If there's no markings on the sides, then you cannot assume that anything is congruent. If there's no markings, like on number 16, that means that none of these three sides match each other. Now with the angles, you just kind of have to look and see what you see. If you see a 90-degree angle, great. If you see an angle bigger than 90 degrees, go ahead and follow that. So basically the side markings, you have to follow the markings, if they're there or not. But the angle measurements, you just use your eyes and determine if it's 90 degrees, they mark it. But otherwise, if it's smaller than 90 or bigger than 90, just use your eyes to make that determination, not any markings that they give you. So again, we're going to pause. And I'm going to have you guys do page number 4, 13 through 18. Number 13 is clearly an obtuse triangle. This angle right here is much bigger than 90 degrees, so that would be obtuse. None of the sides are marked congruent, so its side name would be scalene. This one is marked two sides congruent, the third side not, so that would be isosceles for the side name. And for the angle name, all three of these angles are less than 90 degrees, so that would be an acute triangle. This one's obviously a right triangle, that's its angle name. And its side name, none of the sides are marked the same, so that would be scalene. Again, no side markings here for congruence, so that would be another scalene triangle. And it looks to me like every single one of these angles is less than 90 degrees, just using my eyes. So that would be an acute triangle. Here I see two sides marked the same and the third side not, so that would be isosceles for its side name. And this angle here looks bigger than 90 degrees, so that would make this triangle an obtuse triangle. And then finally, number 18, I have these two sides congruent and the third side not, so this is an isosceles. And I see a 90 degrees right here, so that would make the angle name for this triangle a right triangle. So hopefully you're getting faster at this with practice. Here is the answers to page 4. All right. And our final page, page 5. On this page, they aren't giving you the pictures and you write the names. They're giving you the names and they want you to draw the picture. So here we have 19 through 26. They want you to draw an acute isosceles triangle. So you're going to draw a triangle where all the angles inside are less than 90 degrees. But it also has the characteristic of having two sides that are congruent and the third side not. Number 20, draw a right triangle where all three sides are different lengths, scalene, and so on. Now, I will say that some of these are kind of trick questions, or maybe one. I'm not sure how many of them there are, but some of it's designed so that there might be a triangle that's impossible to draw. So just be aware that if no triangle can be drawn that matches that set of characteristics, just say not possible. Now, make sure to mark your triangle with the information that you can. So if you have a right triangle, make sure to mark the 90-degree angle. If you have an isosceles triangle, make sure you're using tick marks for the two sides that are congruent. You know, if you have an equilateral triangle, make sure you mark all three sides with tick marks. You don't have to put labels on the sides, like on page number 3, like with all these numbers. That's really not necessary. You can kind of basically draw it like this page, page 4, where there are already little tick marks and then maybe some 90-degree angle marks, and that's really all you need. Okay? So if you want to work together and check each other's work, that's fine for page 5. Everyone's drawings are going to be a little bit different, so I'm just going to have you guys kind of cross-check each other's work. Again, make sure you're marking right angles and marking all sides that are congruent. Equilateral will have all three sides marked congruent, isosceles too, and also if those sides are congruent, they should be the same length. Don't draw me a wackadoo scalene triangle and tell me that it's equilateral with the tick marks, okay? Draw these carefully. Make them look like they actually should look if they were an obtuse scalene triangle, okay? For example. Okay, so I would take about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes at the most, I guess, for this page to do 19 through 26. So you can pause the video now to do that. Okay, now there should be a little bit of time left in the class period. Again, I mentioned that we've got some classroom textbooks on the windowsill. Go ahead and grab those. The first 10 questions on the homework assignment correlate to exactly what we did today. So go ahead, and it should be easy stuff, basic, just using these 7 names to name triangles. So go ahead and take out your notebooks. If you didn't bring your book today, you can use one of mine, but remember, do not take it out of the classroom. No, no, no. So page 221, 1 through 10, and that should wrap up the day today. I will see you tomorrow. Bye for now.